Super tilted about the Dennis Smith Jr. Cost me a chop of the 1650 with 6 other people. So instead of having like a 3,400 something like that losing night, I would have had like a 10K plus profit night. So that was a little tilting. Dennis Smith Jr. being not announced out after lock. I literally could have played anybody, any other thing, dropped down and got 10 fantasy points and easily, at least won a few thousand. But very, very frustrating to bubble the 1650 on FanDuel. I don't play it all that often when it's not a bigger one, and I had a chance to win it. But we're on to a monster slate today, so we're going to talk through it. This is a very first look, and there's going to be a ton of news later. Sheets and I will be live at 6 Eastern. So I just want to give everyone a heads up that don't count everything right away. We're going to go through on DraftKings, then we'll talk FanDuel real quick. If you guys are here and available this morning, feel free to pop in questions, but it's going to be a really wild slate. So just keep that in mind. It's going to be kind of crazy. I'm going to share my screen and go through each game and click on the guys who I'm considering, at least for my first look builds. Let's get over there right now, and we will be in business. All right. So looks like I gotta share it over here. Here we go. All right. So, okay. The first game of the night, Milwaukee, Indiana, and shout out to SaberSim. They're cool with us using their projections for early in the day. When or even late in the day, they're cool with people seeing the early projections. So you getting a little bit of a free thing for those of you who aren't premium members. If you're not premium members, you probably should be, because we've had some, we do all of our work in NBA, especially about everything after, in the premium Discord channel. And that premium Discord channel, I posted the exact lineup that finished second in the Monster the night before. And literally, I think it's the best source of information. I don't think anybody else in the industry is out there showing their actual lineups and what they're doing in each situation. And that's what we're trying to do for you guys. Also, really excited to have MLB coming up, but I've talked too much about everything else. It's time to get into the plays. First look, Milwaukee, Indiana. I'm not going to cross these guys off my list, but I'm certainly not desperate to try to get them. If Middleton is out and Giannis and Holiday are both, I'm going to have interest in Giannis and Holiday. But we'll have that before lock. I'm just not going to cross these guys out yet. And of course, if anything goes haywire, we might get involved in some other plays in this game. But for right now, that's all I got. And neither of those aren't priorities the way it stands, but the way it stands could very, very easily change. This is an interesting one. We have Miles Turner, who you'd think would sit because Indiana seems to be in tank mode, who, by the way, Miles Turner just absolutely, outside of the last game, he sort of torches Milwaukee every time. They are at home, so you could kind of think hope that they keep it close. As of right now, Jalen Smith, Jordan Nwora, and I'm going to say TJ McConnell. All these guys are just on my list. Nobody who's a priority, just guys who I'm considering, but honestly don't feel all that great about any of them. If I had to pick one, the other one is Isaiah Jackson, who's not looking good right now, but he might end up being a really good play. So we're going to have to wait to see on that. And as you can see, Sheets ran his early morning projections as well. He'll have a later one for you. But this is going to be a first look, so we're going to have a ton of players on the pool. Nobody I've found that I really love yet, but again, those situations are very fluid because we are probably going to get more guys announced out in that game. Miami at New York, big game here on a back-to-back. I think Jimmy Butler is a phenomenal tournament play. He didn't play last night. The other guys played minutes, had a big game. The standings are, they're bunched up right now. So, I'm taking a quick look, and Miami, I believe, is still in the 7. They're in the 7, and they would love to get to that 6. They're a half game out, so this is a very, very big game at the Garden. You can definitely talk me into some Jimmy Butler. Gabe Vincent, for value, these are guys who are going to show up early in the day. I don't think they're going to show up later in the day, so I'm going to just keep an open mind to them at this point. Kyle Lowry, I don't expect to play tonight. What does that do with Oladipo? I don't know, but I'm just going to keep these guys on my list. And maybe make some decisions later. The one guy who I really do think is that I'm actually writing down is I think Jimmy Butler is going to rate as a tremendous tournament play without looking like a good projection play later today. And it's one of those games where you can get a big Jimmy game and maybe help you win $1 million. Let's see. Absolutely, Edward. Let's get it tonight, as Edward in chat says. New York, on the New York side, this is really, we know the rule, right? Like if Brunson's out, Emmanuel quickly will score 7,000 fantasy points. I don't know what's going to happen here with Brunson. I'm having a hard time tracking it. Obviously, he must be banged up. The Knicks, for what it's worth, are currently, let's just grab it, are right now, they're basically, they're not locked in, but they're getting closer to locked in. They've only got 6 games to go, up by 3.5, down by 3.5. I could see them sitting Brunson and just sort of hoping that, whatever, or I could see them trying to get him back in ready for playoff form. But I don't think it's like that big of a game to them, even though they should want to stay in the 5 spot and try to win games. I just feel like it's not as big of a game. So I'm not really, especially against Miami, looking at anything with Brunson out. With Brunson in. If Brunson's out, I'm going to go back. I'll still have some Quentin Grimes, but mostly it's going to be some combination of Hart, Barrett, and of course Quickly. But again, these guys, even Quickly at 7,800 with them out, I don't know that that's something I'm going to do. And we'll see how it stands later in the podcast. I'm sorry, later on once we're done with more of the games. Dallas and Philadelphia. So Kleba is questionable. I'm not going to cross Luka off ever at first look, and I probably shouldn't cross Kyrie off either, but not all that exciting for me. I'm interested to see what they do with Embiid with their lack of natural size. Would they maybe give Christian Wood a bump, making him an interesting tournament play? He can stretch out Embiid, which is the kind of guys who tend to have success against Embiid, but I'm not all that into it. Embiid and Harden both being questionable doesn't help our case any. Of course, they're both in play if either one is out. And then the other guys are going to be in play if they're out. The price on Maxey is probably a little much, although I'd take a shot there. DeAnthony Melton would probably be the one I would take some shots on because the price is more reasonable, and Tobias Harris. But I need to get at least one of those guys out for any of that to happen. So a good real life game. If Embiid plays, I'm very likely to play him if Harden's out. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to have enough value to get the run backs in. Still only like one, and even the priority of Butler is not really a priority. It's more like a cool tournament play that might be very, very low owned. But we may not need to play like that on this slate. There's going to be some better games coming up. Houston and Brooklyn. So I don't have anything on Houston that stands out as being especially good. I do think that all of these guys have upside. I would say Green and Porter are the two that I'm going to, maybe consider later in the day. I think Porter actually, he's playing a ton of minutes, even in the blowouts. So I'm okay with Kevin Porter. And it's obviously a big game for Brooklyn too, trying to stay out of the 7 seed, 8 seed, whatever, the play-in game. And I am going to like very, very much this price on Dinwiddie in an incredible matchup. And other than Dinwiddie, it's, a bunch of meh. We've seen the good games out of Cam Johnson. We've also seen the bad. We've seen the good from Mikal Bridges. We've also seen the bad. Those are the two I probably would consider at first look, and even Royce O'Neal, but probably not going to end up playing those guys on a giant slate, just throwing it out there because this is a first look, and we're going to go through each of the plays that we do have. On the Clippers side, between the Clippers and Memphis, I'm not going to cross Kawhi Leonard off. I think he's an interesting play. And I think that Westbrook's kind of interesting tonight. Again, these are guys who are not priorities. And that's why I'm having a little trouble at first look, trying to decide which of these guys I would want. Norman Powell might be back tonight, but if he is, I don't know that's going to do much except for maybe take a little bit away from Westbrook. And I don't think he's going to play long enough. My guess is to make him viable, but we'll see. If there's a minute restriction on him later in the day. On the Memphis side, Ja Morant is supposed to play tonight. I think this might be an interesting tournament play. I'm probably going to end up not, chickening out on it, but I'll throw him into some other lineups because 9K, big matchup. And for what it's worth, we'll jump to the Memphis standings. You can see that they're basically going to most likely get that 2 seed, but getting one more win would not clinch it, but come damn near close, and they've got the winning streak going. So open to Ja, but I don't think it's nobody who's a priority over here as of right now. Tillman will be on my list, but I don't think that I'm actually probably going to go there. It's just going to consider him at first look. Detroit. Okay, so I am struggling with this one. The big man rotation thing is very, very tricky. It doesn't feel right to play Durant, who's just awesome. I love watching him. But the minutes, we go to his last minutes. It's just with him backing up, then they've got the two bigs. It just feels hard. I'm not going to cross these guys off, but it is such a good matchup. Like the bigs, we know what the bigs can do against OKC, but I can't quite like justify any of these as being like really good plays. I think Jaden Ivey is in play. I think that Bagley's in play, and I think that Duran's in play, but I don't really love any of it. And I want to love something here. So something I will write is if SGA plays, I expect him to have a very nice game tonight. You also have Lindy Waters questionable, which is only a factor because he takes up some minutes. But Joe Williams is not going to get an overlook and get even after back-to-back. I'm going to consider these guys and probably end up deciding on only Shea if Shea plays. But that's where I'm at for right now. It's pretty interesting. There's not like, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. But we don't have a whole lot of guys who I'm like super interested in at first look. AD as a tournament play, sure. LeBron as a tournament play, sure. Nobody prioritizing for me on the Lakers. Not going to cross them off yet, so we'll just do that. And even to some extent, D'Angelo Russell, if he plays, assuming that he does play, I think he will. But on the other side, Caruso Revenge doesn't work. He's just going to be on my list because he's cheap and he's in a little bit of a later game, so we can pivot off of him. He's a guy I don't mind as a placeholder, but not looking for much more. It's a pretty nice price on Vooch, Levine, and DeRozan. I'm not going to fault you for playing any of those three. The one who I would be the most likely to play here would probably be DeRozan or Levine. But I think that there's some I'm open to some Vooch in here, but mostly I think it'd be DeRozan or Levine for me, just in consideration at the moment. Utah, San Antonio. This is what sucks. We have $1 million for first tournament, a huge night in the NBA. And we've got all of this just complete madness in terms of, we'll get to the San Antonio side in a second, because that's really where the madness takes place. Chris Dunn, hard not to have some interest. The minutes projection seems low at 22. Maybe they updated yet? Let me just double check and refresh this. I'm just going to make sure they updated for Markkanen being out, because we've seen Dunn play more than that when Markkanen's been out. So I do want to take a quick look and make sure that we've updated the projections for this game especially. They just announced Markkanen out this morning. So, yeah, they're still having him at 22 minutes at the 29 fantasy point projection. That seems a little low. It seems like too much fantasy points per minute. It seems like a little low on the minutes for me. So I'm both sides of it. Not crossing these guys off yet. Damian Jones, Fontecchio, Olynyk, and Horton Tucker we've seen be good in these situations at times. But I think that Walker Kessler is a really good play here. He's actually another one I can definitely get on board with. I think that this matchup is so prime, and I can't get enough of this guy, man. He's so good, and every time I look who's going to beat me, it's always a team with Walker Kessler, just because he has those weird 7-block nights, and I'm just interested in against a team in San Antonio where you can really you'll get the turnover opportunities for steals, you get the blocks, you get plenty of rebounds. They play fast and they don't play well. They play a ton of guys, as you see. I don't know what we're going to end up deciding here. At first look, Branham looks like a smash play. Mamu looks like a good play, but like you got Zach Collins. I don't know if I agree with all this. I'm going to keep these guys on my list for now, just because they all rate so well from a point per dollar standpoint. But nobody who I feel completely can like any conviction of. I mean, you got 3 point guards here. Then you've also got Langford who's going to play. It's just tricky. So right now, I would say that if I had to pick one, I do think Branham is probably the answer, but I think that Devontae Graham is just close enough to where if there's any ownership difference later in the day, we can maybe pivot off of that. But this is where you're going to make all your decisions. It seems like in those 8 and then the 10 o'clock games. De'Aaron Fox, he hasn't been as good lately. And you need the fourth quarter run out of him. He's going to be on my list, but I'm not overly excited about it. I think Sabonis will smash here, but smash is relative, and he might only get 3 quarters with how bad Portland actually is right now. And just nobody else is going to rate to be a tremendous play for me. But I do think that Sabonis and Fox are definitely in play. Fox's price is tempting. It's just we get most of our efficiency and most of our usage out of him in the fourth quarters. And I'm worried about there being a fourth quarter in this one, as Portland is just, oh man, they just are so beaten up. I am not going to shy away from Shaden Sharp. I think that's a mistake. I know that he struggled the other night and it sort of went a different direction. I'm still going to take my shots there. I also think the price is too low on Eubanks. So Eubanks is actually definitely an early priority for me. Didn't get the blowout run the other night. I still like him in this kind of a matchup, and I think he can get there even in short time potentially. Kevin Knox, I played quite a bit the other night. One of the things I did right, I will consider him again. It's just impossible for me to click the Archidiakono button on this slate, but I'm open to it. And then I'm saving all this to mention Keon Johnson, who I feel like is being a little bit over projected, but I am still going to take some shots, and I'm even not going to cross off Nasir Little. I think the whole Portland team is definitely in play. And I think you're going to want a couple guys from this game just because they're shorthanded. Even if they get killed, like look at all these bodies that are out, and we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and one of their names are John Butler. So Portland, I'm going to put in probably wanting 2 early on. So that's where I'm at. All right, let's jump over to Minnesota and Phoenix. Okay, so I like the price on Gobert here. I think he's kind of interesting. It's a little tricky with the Towns Edwards. I just think I'm probably most likely to stay off of it. One of these days, Towns is going to get full run and smash, but I don't know if this is the spot where that's going to happen. It's a competitive game, so maybe they do after giving him the break on the back-to-back the other night. I believe that was. But also, like with the questionable tag on Taurean Prince, that would open up even more for Kyle Anderson. Probably more of a FanDuel play, I think. Actually, I don't even know what his price is on FanDuel yet. And we've seen some big stuff from Nasri lately. Unfortunately, they switched him back to center only. So right, but that doesn't matter because Towns is probably going to play it. Really, it's just long story short, I think Gobert is probably my favorite play here, and I think that's likely going to be it. It'd be nice to have some more priorities this early in the day, but we really don't have these real standout plays. All right, though on this other side, Chris Paul at 7,300, Devin Booker at 9,900. I think Paul or Booker, as I keep saying, and it works. One of them sort of seems to smash every night. And then I think Ayton as well is definitely in play. So I'm personally higher on the Paul and Booker side of things. But Paul is probably my favorite play here. Even if Kevin Durant plays, I don't think they're going to let him just go crazy. Just I know he's like used to be a guy when he plays, he plays. But I just think that they got to be careful with him. So I still think Chris Paul could have a big game here. And I think that KD, look, if we get full minutes out of KD at this price, that's probably a few games away. But we'll be drooling at the price for KD at 9,700, I think. I just don't know if this is the right slate. First game coming back, my guess is they take it pretty easy with them. And maybe lower my Chris Paul, Booker love. Just no one's going to play these guys. That's partly what was appealing to me. But now that I look at it with KD, I don't know that Booker did have a big game with him before, probably reaching on this kind of slate. So maybe I leave it as Paul or Ayton for right now. It's a really tough slate. I have a hard time even doing priorities. I have guys I like for tournaments: Butler, SGA, Walker Kessler, Shaden Sharp, Drew Eubanks, 2 guys from Portland in general, and then I've got the Paul basically. But that's really all I've got at the first look. And then Branham, one of the guards from San Antonio, but they play them all like 20 minutes sometimes, and it drives me nuts. So it's just going to be a hard slate where the guys we're getting value from are going to be very, very suspect. You can see on this list, 4 San Antonio guys, you've got an Indiana guy, you've got 2 Portland guys. These guys aren't playing for anything. And that's really scary when it comes this time of the year. Just look up DSJ from last night. That was absolutely freaking brutal. Like it's really annoying when your guys get announced out after lock, or sometimes just DNP CDs at this time of the year. And that's what we got to embrace a little bit of the variance. Unfortunately, only playing one of the big ones today in the 3K for $1 million. And I just feel very uncomfortable with these guys in my lineups, but I'm probably going to have a few of them. Anyway, guys, we'll be live at 6 Eastern. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Good luck to everyone tonight. Let's crush it and jump on in the premium Discord. If you're not a premium member, think about becoming one.